hello to you joining us for season 2, episode 9 of A Measure of Marketing, where we're going to chat about how to create a simple and practical content strategy for a small business.
Yes. A topic that is very overcomplicated sometimes, and no wonder on the basis of how much content is out there.
Yeah, it's noisy. It's really noisy. But I
Yeah.
think people forget how important it is to create content and to pull in um, people by using it effectively and not just creating it for the sake of it, but actually doing it strategically. So I think if we can kind of break that down and the
Yeah,
reason why a content strategy, or even just an understanding of what content you're going to put out there and why, I think could be quite helpful.
yeah, definitely. I've done a little speaker thing recently, which was so much fun.
Okay.
And we this topic always comes up with business owners that always ask about content. And I felt very basic, but spoke about a simple marketing funnel.
Mm.
And I think if you think of marketing in that way, be it content, be it your website or using a specific social media channel, all we're trying to do is move people closer to us, aren't we?
Hmm.
So the closeness comes at the bottom of the funnel in a probably one-to-one conversation or someone clicking a buy button,
Hmm.
wherever that may be. So I always think of content in this way as well. So if I'm doing maybe a blog, or if I am writing some content for a week's worth of LinkedIn posts, I always sit and like think of the upside down triangle and what content is quite like broad at the top on a specific topic.
Hmm.
In the middle, how can I show people how I help people and in
Hmm.
what way and what my service might look like if you worked with me. And then sometimes at the bottom, I do more like salesy type posts, as in, this is my service. You can book it here. It's like step one, step two to step three for this length of time. Don't normally put a price on it, but that's how I think of my content. Um, because then it makes me think, what channel am I using? And then typically what are people looking for on that channel as well? Like on LinkedIn, they don't want to see too much salesy stuff, but they will. I've got a lot of people that probably don't know me that well. So to do some of this broader content at the top about marketing or my thoughts on marketing or stuff like that. And then some people will be thinking, oh, I wonder what she does. I don't actually know what she does. So
Hmm.
I'll tell them in the middle of the funnel.
Hmm.
So I approach my content strategy in that way and kind of teach it in that way.
Hmm.
And then I feel like that triangle, say if the next question is, so how do I actually do my content for my website then? You can kind of pick that triangle up and like pop it onto your website and say, okay, which page is the home page? It's kind of like maybe at the top. Your service pages are in the middle to the bottom. Your blogs are more at the top because it's a kind of a broad question about a marketing topic. So I kind of get people to like take this triangle and like pop it over here onto their website or pop it into their content plan or even pop it onto a blog as well, as in when you're writing a story to like lead people through to a call to action.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And it's quite it gives structure and kind of purpose behind writing the content.
Without overcomplicating as well,
Exactly.
I find. Yeah.
Exactly. What I would then throw in the mix with that, if you can keep that in mind, what I try and do with clients is to think about what content are you creating. So there's the reason why you're creating it, but
Yeah.
what content? And so we often put it back to thinking about the target audience, so the person you're trying to talk to or
Mm-hmm.
sell to, and then think about what their problems are. And I know we say this in most of our podcast episodes of
Yeah.
like, okay, well, what are their pain points? But if you can start talking their language and start to build a relationship with them, that you understand what they're going through,
Mhm.
why they may need to save time, or they may need this particular product to make life easier, or this actually streamlines this process. So if they bought this piece of technology, it would help them. There's ways of creating content around those pain points that
Yeah.
starts to build the relationship. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one sort of reason, or the what. And then another one is I try and encourage clients to think about that person, that target audience, and think about a day in their life or a year in their
Mm.
life.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
is there a kind of calendar that you can kind of incorporate your content with, that perhaps they don't know how to explain it. They might have a particular run where they recruit or where they train or
Mm.
where they buy their technology or where they're actually exhibiting at particular
Mm.
events. And
Yeah.
you can then start to see a journey or a pathway of what content you can create ahead of these little milestones. So you then start talking their language again to be able to sell in what you do.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it gives people that reason to think, okay, well, this is the content that I need to create and the purpose behind it. And
Yeah.
then you feel put that in to kind of like the funnel or the sales funnel, where you think of maybe 70% is kind of pure content and 30% is a little bit more salesy. As
Mhm.
you start to go down, you've then almost got these pillars of what you're going to talk about and then why you're doing that, of trying to filter them down.
Yeah, 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 that's really good. I always call it the customer feedback loop. It's not a very invented name.
Customer, I haven't heard that.
I think I made that
Customer.
up myself, but
Okay.
it's definitely enters the cat. I love when you can just see a little tail above the yeah, the customer feedback loop. So I get people just to um like every conversation that they're having, be it with a current customer, a perspective at networking, comments on social media, just anything, or even just like other people's posts. You're like, oh, these are the key questions that I'm always
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah.
And some people will say, well, I'm asked the same thing all the time. And I'm like, even better. Like,
Yeah.
then you just got
Yeah.
to get comfortable with repeating it in
Yeah.
different ways and chopping it up in different ways. So I just, yeah, like get really curious about your audience and like really listen. And that's essentially almost like the kind of top to middle part of your content plan. So you can be talking about yourself at the top a little bit as well, some of the broader topics in your industry. But if you've got problems and objections of people or queries, then you can answer that within your content flow
Yeah.
as well. Like
Yeah.
blogs are
Yeah.
great to create based on questions that you're asked on a regular basis. Um, so yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that's like in my head the simplest way to approach content is a bit of a marketing framework and then to base it off what your customer is asking for and saying. It's
Yeah. And
simple.
I think this works another to complement that. What's works really well if you're in the first kind of 18 months, 2 years of your business, where you're still kind of finding the niche and the kind of the
Yeah.
why. It works at any time, but more so at this point, is actually do a bit of research and not just finger in the air, kind of Google or ChatGPT, but go back to your clients. You may have only had two, you may have had 12, and actually um, 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 ring them up and just say, can I just have 15 minutes of your time to ask you
Yeah.
some questions? And
Yeah.
if you've exited well and you've still got a good relationship, people want to help people. They will take 15 minutes of their time or over a coffee to answer your questions. And you can say, okay, talk to me. What I know my product or service has helped you, but if you can cast your mind back, what other problems did you have? What other problems have you got that maybe my service can't help with, but it gives me a better understanding of you and your persona and your challenges.
Yeah.
And it's real then. It's you're not
Yeah.
just second guessing because
Yeah. Because I think it's so easy as a business owner, like take our example, we think we're solving a marketing problem, but you're not solely, are you?
Mm,
There's a sales thing there. There's often a kind of admin organization bit. There'll be
time.
SEO, there'll be budget, there's probably internal culture. There's a ton of stuff that you're having a ripple effect on. And actually, a business who is going to buy our services is going to be thinking about a whole load of other stuff that will influence if they invest in marketing and what they need out of marketing. And I think that's important to know as well,
Yeah,
because that does then that can influence your content and the
yeah,
funnel and their decision making process.
yeah. So the bigger picture, that the bigger the picture you can paint of your target audience and where they need help, um, I think just gives you so many avenues, so many things to talk about, so many ways to
Yeah,
build that relationship with them, so that you talk their language, so that they think or believe, understand, have that perception, or attracted to you because you know what they're going through.
yeah,
You're not just saying what you do, you're explaining why and how you can help them. And I think it
yeah.
makes it, everyone goes, oh, it's a bit psychological and it's a bit kind of, brainwashing. It's like, no, actually, it's just
Yeah.
building a very human relationship with someone to be able to provide them with what they need.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah. And it's just the way of like building a relationship with a friend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you do it gently, you ask questions, you get to know them. If you can help them in some way, you help them in some way. And we just don't exchange money between friends. That's the only
Ideally.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I liked what you said there about like speaking their language. And it's about so they can recognize themselves in it, but then you've got your leadership, your expertise on top
Yeah.
of that. So they can say, she knows me, he knows
Yeah.
me. Oh, I really like how they've worded that. I get her, I get
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
in how they've explained that.
Yeah.
And that's where then the kind of deal is done, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think this is where I don't necessarily like paid ads, and why I don't like pay per
Mm.
click, and why I don't like
There's
marketing
just not enough.
automation,
Yeah.
because it's not organic and it's not human. And that to me, when you're doing brand-led marketing and it becomes human, that's the best marketing that you can do.
Yeah, I
There are
agree.
reasons for the paid media and everything else, that kind of push mentality versus the content strategy, which is the pull mentality.
Mm.
And I get where, when we've chatted with George also before, and looking at paid media, and you need all that organic stuff first before you
Yeah.
can move on to everything else. But yeah, that's why for me or my career, it's been about the more pull marketing content and doing it brand orientated, doing it right.
Yeah.
Mm.
There we go. That's very
Simple and
concise
practical.
from
That's what
us.
we set
Yeah.
out for.
It was
Yeah.
meant to be simple and practical.
Yeah.
But yes, I guess if anyone is listening to this episode and you've got questions, then feel free to drop them below, particularly on YouTube or on our LinkedIn channel. Reach out to us individually as well if you have specific questions. And I guess there's probably deeper bits to content
Mm.
on certain channels. And yeah, feel free to ask that. We can cover that off in some
Yeah.
form or fashion, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But thank you for listening otherwise.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. Enjoyed that.
See you later, Hayley.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.